The Word is much deeper and has much more meaning than the merely surface teaching that we've been taught.
Amos 3:3. Can two walk together unless they agree? We need to understand what Amos has said here. It's saying to us that how can we walk with the Father except that we agree with Him? Now, in today's traditional Christianity, we are taught that we are no longer under the law. Well, if we're no longer under the law, then we are not in agreement with Almighty Yahweh. For Almighty Yahweh said, this is the way that righteousness is. This is what kadoshness is. And we are instructed to be kadosh as He is kadosh. So if we're going to say we're walking with Him, and many Christians today will testify to you that they are walking with the Father. If they are walking with the Father, then they're walking in the commandments. They are walking and obeying the covenant of Almighty Yahweh. Many churches today don't even go back to the Torah or the Old Testament, the Pentateuch, and they don't even understand what they are. When you talk to people about clean and unclean food, clean and unclean things, many times they have no clue what you're talking about, because they've never, ever been taught that they're taught that they are no longer under the law. So what's the point in going back to it? What's the point of studying it and knowing it? If there's no point in studying it and knowing it, then you're ignorant of the law. And you're in the same position you were as a Gentile before you came to Yahshua. You're yet in darkness. And what fellowship does light have with darkness? You know, if you're yet in darkness, you're ignorant of the commandments of Almighty Yahweh, you're ignorant of the righteousness of Almighty Yahweh, and you think you're doing exactly what you are supposed to do, you're pleasing the Father, but yet you're walking in rebellion against the Father's covenant, against His Torah. He made a covenant with His people, and we as Gentiles were brought in by the blood of Yahshua into the Israel of Almighty Yahweh. The Israel of Almighty Yahweh was not brought in to the Gentile or into the church. The church was brought into the Israel of Almighty Yahweh. By the blood of Yahshua HaMashiach, the Gentiles were allowed access. Now, there was a law that was nailed to the stake. Yahshua took it to the stake, and it was nailed to the stake with Him. That law was done away with. Yes, it was not done away with, but it was atoned for. What was against us, the handwriting that was against us in the law, was that if you were not circumcised, you could not come into the tabernacle or come in and into the congregation of Israel. By the blood of Yahshua HaMashiach, there was no longer Greek and Jew. There was no longer circumcision and uncircumcision. And Paul said that if the uncircumcised by rights did what was right according to the law, then their uncircumcision would be deemed circumcision. And if the circumcised, the one who was circumcised, did not keep the commandments, then his circumcision would be deemed uncircumcision. And it's all the way back in the Torah and the prophets, the Father talked about the uncircumcised of heart being in the congregation. It's not a new thing. The Father has always talked about the circumcision of the heart being circumcised before Almighty Yahweh, being in submission to Him, being willing to hear and obey what the Father has said, rather than walking in our own way, doing our own thing, what we think is right, rather than what He said is right. Much of what the church is doing today is what they think is right, rather than what He has said is right. He has spoken to us and told us what is right. And where did he speak it to us at? In the Torah, in the law, in the commandments. He said this is what is kadosh. These things are unclean to you. These things are clean to you. We have been given specifics. We have no problem as Gentiles knowing the validity of a contract. When we sign a contract with somebody, we expect them to live up to that contract, the terms of that contract. If they say we have a 10-year guarantee, we want a 10-year guarantee on that. And if the product that we buy goes out in 9 years, we want it replaced according to the contract. Well, we have a contract with Almighty Yahweh. That contract is called the Torah. The Father made a contract or a covenant with us. And he said, this is the way you shall walk. And if you will walk in this manner, and if you will do what I have commanded you to do, to keep all of my commandments and my statutes, and follow after no other deities, then I will be your sovereign, and you will be my people, and you will have good of life, and it will be well with you and your children and your children's children. I hear parents all time talk about how much they love their children. If they loved their children, they would teach them to walk in the commandments of Almighty Yahweh. For the Father has said, this is how it will be well with you. If you walk in my commandments, if you keep my statutes, and if you won't follow after any other deities. Many of the Christians today do not even know what the symbols of idolatry are that are totally in our churches all over this country and all over the world, really. We talk about the simple things as a cross, and we talk about the statues of the Virgin Mary. We talk about the statues of Yahshua, and people think nothing about having a picture of Yahshua in their home. Well, that's an idolatrous picture. That picture is not of Yahshua. If you will go back in history and look at the pictures in history, you will see a picture of Astaroth, and you think you are looking at Yahshua. And what you're looking at is Astarte. We don't even know that we are following after idolatrous pagan practices today, and we're walking in curses that we are not even aware of. We need to be aware of where we're walking. We do not need to walk in darkness. Paul said if we walk in John said that if we hate our brother, we're yet walking in darkness. And if we are walking in darkness, we know not where we're going. We stumble over everything. We fall over everything. Well, what is darkness? We as Gentiles were in darkness when we did not know what the commandments and the laws of Almighty Yahweh was. We were in darkness. We had no knowledge of righteousness. We had no awareness of it. So we need to understand that it is time to get back to the basics, what Almighty Yahweh has given to us. The Torah, the commandments. We need to understand that this is life and that this is well-being for us. But if we don't get back to the basics, then we're struggling and walking in the traditions of men and the imaginations of our own heart. And the Word says that we're a fool if we do this. We need to understand obedience to the Word is righteousness. Obedience to the Word is walking in light. Obedience to the Word is where we need to go. And we need to walk in the light. As He was in the light, we need to walk in the light.